So our next presenter is Maha El-Metwally, Paying It Forward, helping the next generation of interpreters. Maha is a conference interpreter in the Arabic booth. She works for a wide range of international organizations, including the European institutions and the United Nations. She's a member of the International Association of Conference Interpreters, AIIC, the American Translators Association, ATA, the Chartered Institute of Linguists, and she is a fellow of the Institute of Translation and Interpreting in the UK. Maha has a MA in interpreter training from the University of Geneva. She's associated with a number of universities, both in the UK and abroad, where she contributes to the curriculum. She's passionate about technology in the field of interpreting and offers courses on the subject internationally, both in person and remotely. Maha, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sergio, and thank you for inviting me to this celebration of multi-languages. It is really a pleasure to be here, and I am very pleased, of course, to have had the opportunity to listen to such great speakers. I was sitting there in awe listening to Lynn and Joost because I really love technology, so I was sitting there like really taking notes. Thanks a lot for having me. What I will do is I'm going to talk about a bit of a different topic than what we have talked about so far, and that is helping the next generation of interpreters. I'm not going to be introducing myself because Sergio has already done that. So I will just jump to the rationale. Why is it that I thought of doing what I have been doing for a while to help future colleagues? I think that there is a gap that exists between the student life and practicing the interpreting profession. I know that the students, of course, have as their first port of call their tutors, their professors at the university. But I get a lot of questions on social media from students and from young interpreters about so many things that are sometimes related to interpreting itself, the skills, but sometimes they are related to running a business as an interpreter, being an entrepreneur, some dilemmas that they have with clients, so many different things. So I thought, okay, let me then do what I can to help future colleagues. So what I started to do, in no particular order, I started to do a variety of things that I must say I very much enjoy. It all started with being invited to give talks at universities, and the topics that I covered were mostly about technology for interpreters, but sometimes they were about how to enter the profession, how to develop in that profession, being a professional interpreter. I have some young colleagues whom I mentor, so they come to me if they have issues with this or that, or if they need help with things. So we do that gradually, work on different skills, work on different ways to grow in the profession. And I decided to put together also some videos on my YouTube channel that help students and fresh graduates of interpreting, that I call Step by Step. I'm offering this in Arabic. So I started looking at things like how to gain experience, because students who have just graduated, maybe they do not have enough experience. So how to gain experience, how to gain more confidence about their performance. I talked about mentoring, for instance, and if they would like to give it a try, where they can find mentoring schemes. And then I started taking it bit by bit, for instance, how to approach clients, how to create a presence on social media. I also looked at things that could be useful, like preparing their CV or their contracts, how to prepare for a meeting for the first time, and so on. So I'm doing short episodes bit by bit, covering different things that have to do with becoming a professional interpreter. I also did something a couple of years ago. It was, I think, it was either the summer holiday or it was the Easter break. and I had a bit of free time. So I put a note on social media that I'm going to be opening my e-office. And if you have a question of any sort about interpreting, you can book a 15-minute slot and then let's talk about what you want to discuss. So I thought that this was really fascinating because I got so many different topics to discuss with different colleagues. So for me, it was also trying to find the best ways to help and unleash my creativity. How can I help with this particular issue? So I enjoyed it a lot. And then it was also very gratifying that some of the students or colleagues who booked these consultations, that they came then a while later and they said, actually, this helped me with this and that. And now I have a clear direction and that's what I did. So it actually led to something concrete. And then what I also try to do is I make sure that there are free spots in the training workshops that I offer for students. So sometimes I raffle this or I ask colleagues whom I know teach at universities to nominate some students so that they can attend in the workshop. So I do different things in order to help students and fresh graduates of interpreting. And why I do that? Well, it is for different reasons, but I can name some of them. So raising the bar, because obviously investing in the future generation of interpreters is something that is going to be useful for everyone. It is beneficial for the profession, for these interpreters, for us, the older interpreters, because we are going to get to work with colleagues who have higher regard for the profession, maybe, and higher level of performance. I find it on the personal level quite gratifying to help someone and then see the result of this. Maybe also for religious reasons, because I believe that knowledge is to be shared and that leaving an impact is something that one should strive to do. For me, it's also continuous professional development, because when I prepare a talk or when I prepare a presentation or a training, or when I get a question that I'm not really sure how to deal with, that leads me then to go and research it also. So for me, it is also a learning opportunity and helps me to develop further. So I have different reasons why I do this. And then I wanted then to, based on maybe a recommendation from Lola, she said, okay, so that is what you do, but then why should or why shouldn't we involve the professional interpreters? What's in it for them? Let's give them then something that that could be useful for them when we talk about helping young interpreters. So I posed this question on social media. Why should you try helping future interpreters if you're not doing it already? You know, what's in it for you? Because obviously the young interpreters, they are benefiting from this, but how do you benefit from it? So I posed the question on social media, and then I got several responses. Many people interacted with these posts, and I think maybe my favorite is the first one, is that a rising tide lifts all boats. So we all get to benefit when we are helping one another. Another colleague said that it is actually, it's a way of showing an honoring of the trust that older colleagues have invested in me, and I am doing the same for the new generation. So it is in a way repaying the debt that they have with their mentors and with their older colleagues. Another colleague said that I do not want them to learn from their own mistakes. You know, I want to give the new interpreters a head start. So that's also very altruistic. And another colleague said it is a reciprocal learning process. So I can learn from someone who is younger. It's a different generation, they're a different stage of their career. So they too thought that when they are helping younger students, they are also benefiting from this process and learning in the process. So then then for you, what could you do in order to help young interpreters? I have here some ideas, and then you feel free then to fill in the blanks. I'm sure that there are many more ideas. You could potentially join a mentoring scheme. So if you haven't thought of this, there are associations that have mentoring schemes. I know that ATA has one, and other associations, I'm sure. So you could consider joining and then giving it a try and see if that is something that is for you or not. Some colleagues sort of got into mentoring by accident, and then they liked it a lot and they continued. So who knows, maybe you get to like it as well. It may be an idea to get in touch with your alma mater. So you graduated from a university or from a program somewhere where you studied interpreting. Maybe it's an idea to get in touch with them and see if there is something that you can do for future interpreters, for the current students. One of the things that I try to do if I have an assignment somewhere and I'm staying for a bit longer than just a couple of days, I get in touch with some local universities, or I ask colleagues to introduce me, and then I go and give a talk there. And I must say that has been one of the very interesting experiences that I've had in terms of helping new interpreters, because I always get very interesting questions, and you feel that you are spreading the word about the importance, for instance, of joining a professional association and learning and continuing to learn and so on. Some colleagues, for instance, hold a live event on LinkedIn, like Ask Me Anything. So you could, if you do not have a lot of time, you could dedicate a particular time to meet with young interpreters and ask their questions. So this could also be interesting. You could contribute, for instance, to speeches, especially if your language combination is not very widely spread. So interpreters, the student interpreters, they need speeches in order to practice. So you may want to contribute to something like the EU speech repository or speech pool, etc. So you could record some speeches in your languages and contribute this way. There are so many ways that you could contribute to helping student interpreters and young colleagues. So I leave it to you then to fill the blanks, or maybe you could add in the chat other ideas that you could contribute. So I just wanted to keep it short, and if you want to get in touch, these are my contact details. But if you have any questions or any queries, then now is the time. So please do let me know, especially if there are some young interpreters here in this conference. I'm all ears if there is anything I can do to help. So please let me know. Thanks a lot.
Great. Thank you so much, Maha. That was an excellent presentation. I'm sure we'll have a couple of questions. So if you have a question for Maha, raise your virtual hand or type it in the chat. I saw a comment from Zania saying, I feel some professionals have difficulty sharing their knowledge with their peers, which is a real shame. Maha, I wonder if you could elaborate on why you think that might be and how we could overcome that potentially.
Yeah, Zaina, thank you for this. I understand that maybe not everyone thinks, oh, I have really something valuable to contribute, but actually you have experience, you have been through different assignments, you have dealt with different clients, worked maybe in different countries. So if we really look closely at our experience, I'm sure that we will find that we have something useful to contribute. Or if you do not know exactly what to do, just leave the door open. So if you are present on social media, make it known that I am open to receiving questions, for instance. And I'm sure that you will receive questions. So it doesn't have to be publicly. You will probably get requests in the chat, in private chat or private messaging, or people send you an email that I am a student, I am doing this research and I need help with this or that, whatever. So I'm sure that you will get some questions. So it would be useful just to make it known if you do not have something in particular to contribute. So yeah, leave it then to the students or those who need help to get in touch.
Great. Thank you so much, Maha. Again, a lot of these comments are wonderful as usual. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for the lovely advice. So not too many questions. A lot of these interpreters are more experienced. So maybe you can, I guess a question I have is, what would be your, I guess, recommendation going forward for more experienced interpreters to pass on their knowledge and wisdom?
I think getting in touch with professional associations, there are so many all around the world, and now with conferences like this that are also held online, it's a great opportunity. You do not have to waste time in travel. You can just go to your computer, set up, and start giving a presentation. So I would recommend that you send proposals to give talks at conferences. If you have a particular experience in a particular field that you think is useful, you could definitely give a talk about this. So for experienced interpreters, I think you have a lot to talk about. Some of us maybe are specialized in working with refugees or specialized in medical interpreting, or we have different specializations or maybe favorite topics that we have worked on. And I'm sure that this knowledge would be useful for someone. So I would encourage you then to come forward and send proposals to professional associations to give talks about experiences that could be useful for others, that others could learn from.
Yeah, thank you, Maha, and that was wonderful. And
if you don't like talking, actually, Lola, I want to have to say something. You could maybe try writing. So there is the ITI bulletin, you have the ATA Chronicle, you have so many professional associations with publications. You could share this in writing if you do not feel comfortable talking.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are multiple ways to do this. One common element you may have observed in the 6 speakers that we had today is that each of them are leaders in their sectors, in their industries. You go to LinkedIn and Maha is there commenting, posting a message. I see all of these people in different ways, like, Helen teaching, in universities or traveling or doing sessions, doing webinars. And this is what you mentioned about, the raising tides bring everyone up, because when we learn from each other and when we contribute to other people and to people who are coming into the sector, we are learning. We will never stop learning, right? And it is beautiful how you have presented, Maha. And it is super important that we not only look, okay, what can I learn for myself, but how can we contribute to the overall growth of the sector? Because at the end of the day, we are going to benefit ourselves, right? So getting involved, and this is also, you have seen a pattern of these comments, what Javier was saying of who we are, like, the person, be a good colleague, be a good support to the group of translators or interpreters or other colleagues in the sector. It really makes a big difference. It makes a difference for them and it makes a difference for us. So being that, good, collaborator, mentor, like identifying, maybe those of us working with associations and groups, identify, can we create, special groups for mentoring, groups for what we call masterminds. I am in a few masterminds in my other endeavors that some of you know, but a mastermind, a group of people that meet regularly to see, okay, what are our wins? What are our challenges? How can we solve this? And this could be a small group of people, of colleagues that right? So find out ways to do that and to keep the connection going, because we heard at the beginning a little bit on the frustrations that people may have had, and there are ways to come over, above all of those. So if anyone else has questions for Maha, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we could move on.
Yeah, I see in the chat, Lola, that Zainab, for instance, asks if there are mentoring programs coming up for new graduates. Well, I know, for instance, that the Institute of Translation and Interpreting, the ITI in the UK, they have a regular online program called SAFT and SUFI, so setting up as freelance translator and setting up as freelance interpreter. And it has like different modules, and they are all taught by veteran translators and interpreters. So I would advise you to take a look at this. I think there's also the mentoring program of the ATA, and then look at your local associations, what they have to offer. And a question from Fatma, if I thought about mentoring mentors. She feels that she personally needs to learn how to be useful online, coming from a more traditional teaching setup. Well, I haven't thought about that, Fatma, but get in touch. Let's discuss. Maybe there's something that we can do together.
And that is a brilliant point that Fatma is raising, because sometimes people say, I want to help, but I don't know how. Like, who can help me? And then people like Maha, more experience, can say, okay, this is what I've been doing as a mentor to groups, right? So absolutely something that we can all work together. And associations are really a starting point. Look for your groups in your area. There are all over the world, right? So look for those groups and the incredible people who are, working to make this happen. Anything else for Maha before we move on? Otherwise, thank you so much, Maha. It has been a pleasure to have you here. And the same to our 6 speakers. This just demonstrates how we can have people who are so passionate about their trade or their work, and they are willing to spend a Saturday with us to, to bring that knowledge and that expertise to the rest of us. So thank you so much to all our speakers.